Hello, welcome back to the Cricket Nerds. We are back after quite a long hiatus. We've just been really busy playing a lot of cricket, to be honest, as opposed to analysing it. But we have still been watching it, and what a World Cup this has been. This is going to be obviously another World Cup video, and we're going to be talking about the teams going into the semi-finals, as well as the last sort of couple of games that were really interesting because India beat Australia very convincingly, and then Bangladesh lost to Afghanistan, which meant that the Australians got knocked out. And there was some sketchy goings on, as you saw in the thumbnail, as potentially the title has suggested. There's some sketchy things going on, which maybe it's come full circle with the Australians doing Sandpaper Gate. Maybe that's just sort of the karma has finally come back to bite them. But yeah, let's first of all talk about the which match came first. Was it India or Australia? I think it was.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that one first. India, they batted first and they put up 205 for 5. And we're not going to go into super amounts of detail on the game, but let's just have a word about the one man that pretty much carried that Indian side. Rohit Sharma. We haven't seen a knock like that from him for quite a while, but
Yeah.
what a time to do it.
I mean, such a key point and a key time to do it. And Rohit Sharma, he struggled for form a bit in the IPL. He's been under scrutiny with the captaincy for India, but pulling out a performance like that, that sort of strike rate and that sort of match situation against that sort of bowling attack. I mean, it was just outrageous what he did. I think, he was obviously the linchpin of that India batting attack, but he was aptly supported by Rishabh Pant, who I think is looking so at home in that number 3 spot. I think if we were to have, I think the choice to not have Shubman Gill inside of this side, despite how well he's done, having Rohit and Virat Kohli opening, letting Virat do what he does, and then having Rishabh Pant, he's been such a great addition back into that side. But yeah, Rohit, a proper captain's knock. I mean, 8 sixes in that innings. He just looked so good. And it took a good ball from start to get rid of him, to stop him going on and getting a ton, to be honest. He really brought that team together. And I mean, he also scored 92 runs in just over 11 overs. Like, it was just the pace that he scored it. Like, if he was in, he could have been on 150. He could have gone for a double ton if he'd have batted the whole innings. And yeah, I mean, what a class player Rohit Sharma is. Commiseration to the Aussies for going out. They tried, didn't they? I mean, Travis Head put up a worthy resistance. But I think Australia, and this might be a controversial opinion, have suffered this World Cup by carrying David Warner, who really should have retired before this World Cup, but has now confirmed retirement now.
I don't know if he was the
from
reason they've
international.
gone out though. Like I don't think he was like he's had a pretty decent tournament overall. Obviously he only got 6 in that latest game, but I think truth be told, it wasn't a bad tournament from David Warner. He had at least one match winning knock that I can think of. And I think they went with experience, didn't they?
But
Potentially they went away from their winning formula though, which is usually they just start really badly in a World Cup and then they somehow just like build their way into it. This year they actually started quite strong and then faded away quite badly. So David Warner, he is he averaged 29.6 with the bat at a strike rate of just under 140, which that's better than like Rishabh Pant.
yeah, for sure.
That's
But
not bad.
how good would have Jake Fraser McGurk been? My boy, my one to watch. Left
Yeah.
out of the tournament, had such a good IPL. Jake Fraser McGurk at the top of the innings would have it would have been Australia would have won, in my opinion. But there we go.
Yeah, and that is a fair point. It honestly could have made quite a big difference if they had somebody of that that excitement level, because if you think about how well Travis Head did in the IPL when it was Sunrisers Hyderabad, and he had Abhishek Sharma, who was just like playing an uber high intent game. If it was Jake Fraser McGurk, who plays this very similar game, and Travis Head, it could have been absolute fireworks at the top of the order. So it's definitely an interesting one, and potentially, you know, that's an opportunity lost, an opportunity missed. But it has to be said that Australia looked strong, but when it counted, they had their issues. And the flip side is that the sort of the Trump team this year has been Afghanistan,
Yeah, I
who
want to talk about them now.
they are that, you know, you kind of not long known that they've been a team that have got incredible bowling resources. You know, like Rashid Khan has been around for a long time. Well, he's super young still, but he has been around for a long time. So is Mohammed Nabi. And, you know, you're kind of aware that those guys are absolutely class. And they've got Mujeeba Rahman, who they're not even bothered playing at the moment.
Yeah.
So they've always had decent spinners. But having Naveen ul Haq, Fazl Haq Faruqi, those two sort of opening are incredible. And then Noor Ahmad, who's basically a left arm version of Rashid Khan. And then Gulbuddin Naib as well, who you just got such deep bowling reserves in Afghanistan cricket now. It means that all they need to do is get to halfway decent score with the bat, and they are well within a shout of winning a game.
Yeah.
And
Sure.
in this last game against Bangladesh, they didn't even really do that. They didn't have a halfway decent score, but it was a rain affected game, and it was all down to sort of a couple of bowlers, Naveen ul Haq and Rashid Khan. And it has to be said, it was down to Gulbuddin Naib, who, when there was it looked like it was going to rain again, and Afghanistan were just ahead on DLS. Jonathan Trott, the head coach, the camera showed that he said, "Slow it down, guys. Slow down the game." And instantly, as if, well, it was a terrible coincidence, really, that at that very moment, Gulbuddin Naib just went down at first slip with terrible hamstring cramps. It was almost as if Jonathan Trott magicked that cramp upon him. And yeah, that was kind of the sketchy thing that we alluded to at the start of this video. And really, the spirit of the game, is it cheating? Is it just desserts for some people? Because I think Bangladesh even said we would have done the same thing. So really interesting perspective from them. But what's your view? Is it cheating?
My view, yeah, I think if you're genuinely injured, fine. If you're putting it on, it's akin to diving in football for me. Like it shouldn't be part of the game. Yeah, you're well within your rights if you want to slow a game down, just to have the captain, have the bowler, have a few people come together to talk and discuss it. You're well within your rights to do that in the game of cricket. But to fake an injury, for me, it's out of order. But let's hear what you are saying in the comments about this. We're keen to carry on this conversation.
Yeah. So let's move on and let's talk about. So we've talked about India, how strong they're looking. We've talked about Afghanistan, how strong they're looking. Let's talk about the other two teams, which are South Africa and England, and they are looking interesting, I'm going to say. We'll start with South Africa, who I think are looking very strong. They have gone unbeaten so far. They have just a solid balance, and they are consistently having somebody stand up in their sort of top four. There have been question marks of form over people like David Miller, but he did really well against England. So, you know, straight away that there's kind of alleviates that pressure. Quinton de Kock was outstanding against England. And then against the West Indies, in sort of a more low scoring thriller, you had players like Tristan Stubbs and Heinrich Klaassen and Marco Janssen step up. So they're just people are coming to the fore at the right times.
Yeah,
And
sure.
they're also carrying a player, I think, in Aidan Markram, who he's potentially not in like the objective best players in a South African T20 shirt at the moment. But as a captain, he's been really good. And I think the fact that he's playing himself situationally is working in South Africa's favour
Yeah,
massively, because he's well aware that he's potentially not a guy in the greatest nick with the bat. He's not really able to go from ball one. He is more your classical, almost an anchor kind of role. And it means that if it's a low scoring game where you just can need to grind out the runs, he can bat himself up the order at sort of 3. But if it's more of a, right, let's get on top of this chase as soon as possible, or let's really put the hammer down, you can send in Heinrich Klaassen or David Miller higher up,
yeah,
and he will hold himself back. And I think the ability to be able to adapt like that, while still enabling your players to have some sort of clarity of role, has been outstanding from him. And then just talk to me about the bowling, because they are always a bit of a blockbuster side when it comes to the ball, aren't they?
They are, and I mean they've got such a good bowling attack. I mean, you look at their quicks with Marco Janssen, who's been up and down in form, but can perform on the big stage. Kagiso Rabada, he's got that quick pace. Imrit Norgir, who always seems to be on it in the big moments. I mean, he bowled such a fantastic final over in that, what is now crucial England game. It's the difference between England facing Afghanistan and India in the semi-final. So, crucial knock. But for me, I mean, the unsung hero for me has been Keshav Maharaj, to be honest. Maharaj has had such good control of the ball. He really slowed England down in the power play, and also has just been able to bowl, that sort of early middle over spell as well, and just really keep control of the game, pick up a wicket or two. It's been really impressive for me. And he's just a real class act, and I think he is. If he bowls well against Afghanistan, he's that key to success. My view of South Africa, though, the issue for me is that South Africa bottle it on the big stage. The quarterfinal is the time where we see South Africa crumble, and I actually have South Africa as my favourites now to win the tournament, with the caveat if they don't bottle it against Afghanistan. Like, Afghanistan may well get to the final because there is probably going to be a bit of a collapse from South Africa. If they can sort that issue out, though, I think they'll. What I'm saying is if South Africa get to the final, I think they will win this tournament.
Yeah. I think it's South Africa's ability against spin that will be the integral thing against Afghanistan, with people like Noor Ahmad and Rashid Khan.
Yeah.
If David Miller and Heinrich Klaassen can be in when those two are bowling, then they can kind of rotate the strike against the one that's turning it away from them, and they can really take on the spinner that is sort of like a better matchup, because having a left-right combination and those two are so good against spin that I think that will probably be the difference. And if Afghanistan can pick up one of those wickets early, they could do really well. Let's move on. Let's finally talk about England.
Yes.
And where they stand, because bowling wise, I think it's actually been pretty solid. I'd say the only real weak link in that bowling attack has been Mark Wood, who he's done well against the teams that have never really faced quick pace before, but overall he hasn't been that great. Jofra Archer has also been a little bit haphazard. He's nowhere near what he was in sort of 2019. However, he has a knack of getting wickets, and he is still a more skillful bowler than Wood.
My question to you, James, is: are you going to write an apology to Chris Jordan?
Certainly not. I stand by every word I've ever said. That being said, he bowled really well, and he absolutely deserved, the accolades that he got in that last game against the USA. It was very entertaining, and it was very impressive. Taking a hat trick and 4 wickets in 1 over and all that sort of stuff. That's brilliant. I think it makes sense that he is, in the side, because Mark Woods just wasn't really cutting it for me, or it isn't really cutting it at the moment. But it'll be really interesting to see whether or not England decide to change things up a bit, because there is an opportunity to get in a bit of left arm spin, which is something they haven't really used. If there is a turner, which I believe their next game is going to be in, where is it again? It was a slightly more turning track, I think, their next game in
next
Providence,
game
isn't it?
is Providence, yeah.
Yeah. So that will be a slightly more turning track. At least that's what we've seen so far from that stadium. So it could be quite interesting to see whether or not England decide to give somebody like Tom Hartley a debut. I can't see them doing it, but there is potential for it.
Yeah, I mean, I think with England they'll probably keep to that tried and tested routine. If it is a turning wicket, Adil Rashid's going to take wickets. Let's be honest. He's so fantastic, isn't he?
And Liam Livingstone has been amazing with the ball as well.
Livingston is impressed too, and I think Moeen Ali can bowl some useful overs too. I think spin hasn't been a problem for England. It's been leaking too many runs with the seam attack. That's been the issue. It's too many runs going cheaply in the power play. I mean, like, I think the key for England against India is going to be Reece Topley in his first and third over. That, like, Reece Topley at the top of the innings is going to be so important. If he can keep it tight, it's going to make such a difference for England.
But more importantly than England bowling well, I'd say, is England batting well. Because Jasprit Bumrah, the cheat code, as Zach always likes to call him, he is unbelievably skillful. And to be honest, I can see him tearing through England's top order. And that's the issue, is England need to be able to hang in there, because the problem England have is if they're 3 wickets down inside the first sort of 7 overs, you suddenly think, right, where are the rest of these runs coming from? Harry Brook has been brilliant, but when you've got people like, you're relying on Sam Curran and Liam Livingstone, they're high variance players. There's no guarantee that they won't just play a terrible shot and get out. Especially Liam Livingstone. So I'm interested to see what happens with England. Maybe we'll see another Adelaide 2022 where they just knock off the runs easily, unbeaten partnership between the 2 openers, or it could be an absolute drubbing from India. Let us know what you think in the comments. I think I know what the comments are going to say, but yeah, it'd be really interesting to see what you guys think. But let's leave it there. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for the continued support. Sorry we've been away for so long. We are still here wanting to make some cool videos. So like and subscribe. Give us a follow on our social medias, and we'll see you next time. Goodbye.